Ladies and gentlemen, we have a couple of cases here in our regular meeting, and we have a case with the joint commission and the city council. And with your permission, I'm going to wait a little longer to see if we have quorum with the city council before we get started. Linda Kay,
Made it.
how are you?
My apologies for being late.
We've been just sitting here waiting
Thank you.
and waiting. How are you?
Good, good, good. Hey. Everything's on here. Yep.
We don't have anybody at the city council, so we're gonna wait a few
Oh,
minutes.
good.
No, you have one.
Oh, we have one. There you go. Good afternoon. You sit out there in the back. I'm old. I can't see that far.
You're not old, you're mature. You're maturing, you're not
Yeah,
old.
that's what my eyes say.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Me too. And my body. How are you feeling? Good. I had physical therapy today. I started last week. Just the dry needling.
Oh.
It's great. Well, it's not acupuncture.
this is the last meeting of the year.
And the first one for you, first one for me.
No, yeah, right.
First and last, right?
First and last for the year.
I'm so sorry, I'm gonna call upstairs and,
Madam Mayor, you should just punish him for this.
I wish I could.
Just say the word, we'll do it.
ये किसका है? या
I'm so sorry.
नहीं या
आप करें मैं सेकंड करता हूँ।
चलो
ओके, ये वो जगह है जिसको हमने पहले ये जॉन विल्सन ने खरीदा था, यहाँ पर ये रेस्टोरेंट बनाना चाहता था, तो उसमें ये अपना रेस्टोरेंट लेके चला गया। नीचे लगा था विलियम पे, इसने बना दिया जी विल्सन पैडी। डंकिन डोनट के पीछे आप देखो, तो ये जगह उसकी खाली पड़ी थी। उसने क्या किया कि मेरे ख्याल कि उसका ऑलरेडी ग्लैडिस पे एक और है, पता है ना, ग्लैडिस और लूकस के कॉर्नर, तो वो दो इस एरिया में साथ साथ, लेकिन पहले यहाँ करना चाह रहा था आई टेन पे एक्सप्लोर, डेड एंड है, तो वहाँ पे इतनी ट्रैफिक नहीं होती है क्योंकि ग्लैडिस डजंट गो थ्रू, तो ये था।
Okay, I'll call.
ये लोकेशन अच्छा नहीं है मुझे।
Mayor, did it make a difference?
I did my duty.
ये लोकेशन वो अच्छा नहीं है।
It's not a good location, no. I tend to offer her, but Gladys doesn't go through.
तो पूरा डेढ़ है और एरिया
before they found out, pick it up. तो वो तो फिर उसके बाद इमरान खान ने 5 साल से बोल रही थी तो इमरान खान has given us वो क्या तो एक इशारा या पार्टी देगा जो उसको जानने वाले हैं तो then 21st को लाहौर पंजाब में 24th इस्लामाबाद में गेट टुगेदर है प्राइम मिनिस्टर हाउस तो ये 2 प्रोग्राम हैं उसके बाद 2 शादियाँ फिर वापसी टाइम इसी में गुजर जाना पता ही नहीं चला हाँ शादी का अभी आगे चला गया थोड़ा और ये होटल वाले आपको रिफंड करेंगे ना किस बार का
वो लोग तो $1,000 नॉन रिफंडेबल था वो। अगर हम फिर गए तो शायद वो लोग $1,000 नहीं तो $1,000 डूबेंगे समझे।
अच्छा नहीं लेकिन ये they will make you to pay 2 weeks in advance तो आप तो पे कर चुके
It's
हो
okay, we get paid by the hour.
नहीं मांगे थे वो लोग।
Yeah,
नहीं
us
मांगे थे।
अभी मैंने यार भाई की बेटी की शादी में
I just heard about my $200,000 I made.
सब पैसे मांग रहे हैं आप क्या कर रहे थे
आपने मांगे पैसे।
Yeah.
It's on the internet. Believe it or
Oh,
not.
it is?
फर्स्ट ऑफ
Yeah, it must be
Then
true.
it's
फर्स्ट ऑफ
true.
उनको
बैलेंस
लेबर लेना पड़ता है तो वो चाह रहे हैं कि मेक श्योर कि everybody is in place so that's what the problem is
Did they put the private jet in there too?
Oh, might as well.
जानते हैं उसको
ओ ये
That's more like $2.
वो ठहरती थी आपके वहाँ बस।
I just hope somebody show up.
Is Tyrone coming?
They said this morning that somebody was coming, but
We have to reset. Gotta have a quorum. Yeah, they said he's coming. Councilman Turner should be on his way.
Are they here in the building?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
I called the attorney.
I think so. I totally agree.
what happened
Hey, it's kind of nice calling to see if one of the attorneys was coming to the planning commission. Okay, thanks. She's gonna check with him. She thought he was done.
Well, really need to announce my phone started. A lot.
there we go we got it
Do we need to wait for the attorney?
Called up there, she said she thought Tyrone was coming down, but she was checking, so.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sina Nejad, and I have the privilege of being the chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission. I welcome you to our meeting of November 15th. Apologize for making you wait a little bit, but we're getting started. If you be kind enough, put your cell phones on mute so it won't disturb the proceeding, and we get started. Would you please call the roll?
Chairman Najad.
Here?
Commissioner Beatty is absent. Commissioner Jabbar.
Here.
Commissioner Javid.
Here.
Commissioner Linton.
Here.
Commissioner Macon.
Here.
Commissioner Noyola.
Here.
Commissioner Pate.
Here.
And Commissioner Karishi.
Here.
Good afternoon to all of you. Before we get started, I'd like to welcome our new members to the commission. Mr. Jabbar to my left, Mr. Linton, and Mrs. Pate to my right. Welcome. This is a very well and worthy commission. We do a lot of great work, and I'll welcome you. If you need any assistance with anything that's going on with the commission, please don't hesitate to call us or Mr. Chris, and we'll take care of you. With that said, you all have been given the minutes of the previous meeting. I would entertain a motion to make changes and or approve the previous minutes.
I have a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? The ayes have it. Thank you. We're going to get started with our first case of the regular meeting. Mr. Boone.
Good afternoon.
Good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon.
Welcome to the new members. And I just would like to point out before we get started that probably sometime earlier in the new year, we'll have a work session inviting all the new planning commission members and old on a refresher course on kind of what we do in terms of both the ordinances and the plans and all that. So we'll be back in touch with you on that hopefully in the new year. So again, welcome.
And the refresher course doesn't have refreshments either, right?
Well, maybe, but there will not be a test. There will not be a test.
All right.
Okay, the first item on the regular agenda is PZ 2021-359, and it's a request to rename Buford Street between Port and Brooklyn Streets. Reverend Willie Williams, Jr. has requested to rename a portion of Buford in this stretch of Buford. Reverend Williams, states that the street should be renamed in honor of the work of Reverend William Nelson McCarty, Sr. Accomplishments in the community, specifically the south end of Beaumont, attributed to Reverend McCarty. Reverend McCarty accepted the Starlight Church's call for service in December of 1948 and began plans for reorganizing the ministries, including the order of worship, the church's future expansions. Under his leadership, membership increased dramatically, and new ministries were introduced and flourished. In 1970, his leadership in the civil rights movements helps the minority community begin to thrive in Southeast Texas. In 1985, the Family Institute was introduced, providing after-school student tutorials, a reading program, personal finance lessons, and a myriad of other activities to enhance the community. Reverend McCarty led the Starlight Church for 38 years, and he's fondly remembered by the community he served and the church he led. So again, before you today is a request to rename this portion of Buford Street. The process to rename a street is, again, it's considered for persons and places of significant interest in the community. The process is, of course, to go before the Planning Commission initially to review and recommend for or against, and then ultimately would go to the City Council for final decision. Part of the review also is the support of area property owners, and we have sent out notices to area property owners. What the ordinance calls for, the guidelines call for, is 75% of those property owners support the application. In this case, we have the church and the Port of Beaumont would represent 100% of those area property owners. And so the applicant has reached out to the Port of Beaumont across the street, and we do in your packet have a letter from Chris Fisher, the executive director of the port, in support of this application. And based on this application, staff is recommending the renaming in honor Reverend McCarty. And we would like to specify, though, that it would not necessarily be a renaming of the street itself, but an honorary renaming. So for the purpose of streets and GPS and all that good stuff, it'll still remain Buford, but the idea would be an honorary naming similar to, we have George Jones Place over here in front of the Jefferson. We also have Barbara Lynn over on Ollie Street. So the street signs, if approved, would signify that this stretch of Buford would be an honorary naming of Reverend McCarty. And with that, are there any questions of staff?
Chris, is there any cost in that step?
There is an application fee for the applicant. It's $150. And then the cost to the city would be minimal. It's just a matter of reinstalling new street blade signs.
Any questions for Chris?
No.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is the applicant here in the? Yes. Oh, perfect. You must be Reverend Williams, right?
Yes, and there are also some members of Starlight sitting in the audience behind me. Willie Williams, 3560 Sleepy Lane, Beaumont, Texas. I've had the pleasure of pastoring the Starlight Church for 7 years now, and how much I appreciate your staff. Mr. Boone has shared with me on the my initial contact with him, because I wanted to rename the whole street, a better way, an easier way, a more prudent way, how much I appreciate his input. And then Demi, I appreciate her as she was preparing for her honeymoon. She was aware and she helped me get through some of the paperwork, and how much I appreciate your staff. But, you know, we stand on the shoulders of those who have gone before us. And the south end of Beaumont is kind of changing to light industrial. So we thought it'd be an honorary thing that the framework of Buford there in front of the church, because right now 1090 Buford is our physical address. And so to have it 1090 McCarty, that would be a blessing as the south end kind of changes. And so how much I appreciate you taking the time to hear us, and I hope that you would follow your staff's recommendation, and thank you so much. You have
Any questions
of
for
me?
the gentleman?
And excuse my attire, I also teach at King Middle School, and so I've been chasing 14-year-olds all day, so I appreciate that.
Thank you. And this one does not require any public comments. I see that another lady has raised her hand. I don't believe it's out of line for her to come up front and speak. Go ahead, please. If you would introduce yourself and give us your address.
Good evening. My name is Margaret Jones. I live at 1670 Victoria. I have been a member of Starlight Missionary Baptist Church for 67 years. And at no time the members have suggested that we need to change the address of 1090 Buford Street, which is Starlight Missionary's address. We have not had a church meeting to decide this. I feel like we need to have a church member of bodies to see if this is what the church, the parishioners of Starlight Missionary Baptist Church want. We have not had a meeting, and so we're asking time to have a meeting and see if the parishioners, the majority of the parishioners, want this to happen.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, we have heard from the staff and from the applicant, Reverend Williams. I would entertain a motion.
I have a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? The ayes have it. Mr. Williams, I congratulate you and thank you for honoring your pastor in such a glorious way. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Mr. Boone, PZ 2021-368.
Okay. The second and final item on the regular agenda item is PZ 2021-368, and it's to consider a request for a minor plat approval of Track 17A and Track 26A, J.W. Bullock Survey, Abstract Number 7, Beaumont, Jefferson County. Access Survey has submitted the plat submitted before you, and it's related to a disaster recovery program of the General Land Office. That state office has planned to demolish and replace the house located at 2740 Sarah Street. Josephine Benoit resides at this address. However, her house actually sits at the rear of Track 17 and 26, but she is the owner of Track 17. When Sarah Street was widened, a portion of Track 17 was taken, leaving a narrow piece of land. Ms. Benoit and Clarence and Martha Lewis, the owners of Track 26, would like to reconfigure the track to fit the existing location of their homes. And let me walk you through the slides, hopefully make a little more sense out of this. Let me go to, okay, all right. Yes, please. So if you can see, this is the original lot dimension of one of the lots, and you can tell here this used to be the extent of the lot to the south. When Sarah was reconfigured again, a portion of this was taken as part of that property. So again, you have a house here and a house here, and so what's proposed before you is to reconfigure to have a new line going north-south here, to have one house here and one house here. So as you can see, there are, it is, the proposed line would be close to the existing home. So that would typically be an issue, but what we are recommending approval given the fact that this would be an improvement over the situation and allow for the house to be, to move forward and be built by the state. However, again, because there is less than 5 feet between the proposed line and the house, the applicant is requesting a variance to the lot width requirement. The new lot width would be 36 feet instead of the required 50 feet. And city ordinance does state that minimum width and depth and area lot is required. So the waiver would be required as part of this application. But again, it does appear to be better than the existing situation. Staff is recommending approval of the proposed plat.
Any questions for Mr. Boone?
Is this 2 lots or 1 lot?
It is 2 lots, and this would also be 2 lots. It's just basically swinging that line from east to west to north to south between the 2 houses.
Would they be destroying the existing carport, or how would they deal with the carport that's in the middle of the lot?
Right. So the carport would remain, but the idea would be the property line would divide it, and they may need to remedy that in the future, of course, if they go to sell either property. But again, our recommendation is to approve it, which would in general not be ideal if this were green space and they were proposing to build it like this, but because it's been there like this for so long, we feel like this is better than the way it is now. So.
And you just have to put a note on the plat
Mm-hmm.
stating that if the property is sold, then the property would have to be destroyed.
Okay. So Ms. Josie, if you didn't hear, we're requesting a note on the plat such that if either is sold, that would need to be resolved. So, as mentioned.
Any other questions? Thank you. Is the applicant in the hall here? You're the applicant? Good afternoon, ma'am. Do you have any information that you would like to add?
No, sir.
All right, thank you very much. We've heard from the staff, and I would entertain a motion.
I have a motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? The ayes have it, thank you. Madam Mayor, good afternoon to you. We're gonna go to the first joint meeting, right?
Thank you. May I have your roll call, please?
Mayor Mouton,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Samuel, Councilmember Feldshaw absent, Councilmember Turner, Councilmember Neild, Councilmember Getz, and Councilmember Durio.
Thank you. This is a joint meeting with quorums from both the Planning Commission and the Beaumont City Council. Today will be the only opportunity that you will have to hear the recommendations of the Planning Commission to the City Council. At this time, you can only make any recommendations, any suggestions, or anything you would like to say must be done on today. The recommendations will be heard through City Council meeting within the next 1 to 2 weeks. And so therefore, please, the attention will be on today. Thank you. I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Boone, good afternoon again. PZ 2021-367.
Yes, this is the first and last and only item on the joint meeting. And PZ 2021-367 is to consider a request for a specific use permit to allow a gasoline retailer convenience store in an NC neighborhood commercial district. Charles Shazari, on behalf of Saeed Ali, is requesting a specific use permit at this location, 3355 Gladys Avenue. Mr. Ali plans to demolish the existing buildings and construct a new facility. The service station would be open 24 hours per day and employ 5 or 6 full-time employees. And I'll go ahead and show you, outlined in red is the location of the proposed convenience store. And again, it's at the intersection of I-10 East Tex and Gladys Avenue. They're at the corner, parallel with Longfellow. And based on the fact that this is zoned commercially, neighborhood commercial, it is at the intersection of 2 major arterials, the highway as well as Gladys Avenue. Staff is going to recommend approval of the proposed use. Now regarding the site plan as proposed by Mr. Shazari, that's before you here. And again, for the new members, specific use permit is a discretionary use, whereas some districts allow uses, some uses by right, some districts don't allow certain uses at all. Some districts allow certain uses, but with a specific use permit. So that's what's before you today. But all specific use permits are site plan specific. So although we will look at this proposed plan in the development review process for permitting, we also need to look at it now. So looking at it, engineering has noted that it would be beneficial to shift the two existing driveways located between the building and the fuel canopy, and that's these here, further to the north about 15 feet. And the reason for that is, if you can see here, they line up with these existing parking spaces. So the idea is to shift them further to the north, so you'd have less of a chance to conflict with those parking spaces. In addition, the parking along the west side of the building does not meet city requirements and should be removed from the site plan along with the southwest driveway. And those being referred to are down here. So what's proposed is they would back directly into Longfellow, which would be a conflict. Regarding the landscaping, trees are required as part of the 6-foot wide landscape buffer at each property line between the parking and right-of-way. Trees will be required along with shrubs along Longfellow, but will not be allowed along Gladys Avenue or I-10 due to overhead power lines. In addition, sidewalks will be required along 3 of the rights-of-way. So I-10 frontage, Gladys, and Longfellow sidewalks would be required. We did send out notices. We received 0 in favor. We did receive 1 in opposition. And it is from Amicorp, which is at 1110 Longfellow. I believe it's just to the south of the site. And they, yeah, just to the south here. Right here. Okay, thank you. And no other comments other than they were opposed to the application. Real quickly, let me walk you through some photographs. This is the subject property in question. Subject property. This is a view to the north, northwest across Gladys and Longfellow. A view to the west. A view to the southwest. A view to the south. And again, staff is recommending approval of this application with the following conditions. Number one, remove the southwest driveway and shift the two existing driveways located between the building and the fuel canopy to the north approximately 15 feet. Remove the parking spaces on the west side of the building and add 2 parking spaces that meet city standards. Number two, sidewalk shall be installed and maintained along all 3 right-of-way frontages. Landscaping must meet all city requirements. That they shield lighting from residential neighbors to the west and to the north. And then finally, pavement between the sidewalk and the back of the curb must be removed and replaced with sod, keeping it in line with the landscaping ordinance. But based on that, are there any questions of staff?
With the parking spaces being removed, we're only gonna end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spaces. Has the traffic or the city agree with that?
So I think we need a total of 10. So it's going to be incumbent upon the engineer to essentially find two additional spaces somewhere on the site. And again, traffic engineering will review the final prior to permitting.
I have a question. Will that be one of the conditions?
It could.
Or it's a requirement?
It's a requirement anyway because the parking number of parking spaces is required based on ratios of square footage. So it is going to be required anyway, but it could certainly be a condition. Mm-hmm.
Chris, condition number 5, pavement between the sidewalk and back of the curb must be removed and replaced with sod. Where's that?
So let me get back to a photograph of the site. Really small. Okay, so you can see here, there's existing curb cuts that we're asking to be removed, and there's existing kind of concrete, asphalt, and a mix of both, kind of here and there. So the idea would be for all this to be removed, and that obviously the driveways would be hard surface, sidewalks would be hard surface, but everything else would be green space.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Chris? Mr. Boone, thank you.
Thank you.
I understand the applicant's in here, so would you like to give us any additional information that you have? Okay, no. Come here, introduce yourself, and give us your address, please.
Good afternoon, Charles Jerry, 87 Interstate 10 North, Suite 115, Beaumont.
All right.
Mr. Ali here, the owner of the property.
Good. Mr. Shajari, you understand the conditions that the city
Yes.
is requesting? And you understand that you're short 2 parking spaces?
We will find if we have to cut the building back,
Yeah.
to come up with the size, the parking space, yeah.
Okay. Any questions for the gentleman?
There is a lot more. There is a lot of work you have to do to bring this building to, up to date and construction.
So it's gonna be demo,
Yeah,
brand new.
yeah. It's going to be nice over there because it's dead area right now. It's going to be very nice.
Any
I'm just,
questions?
Yeah,
Go
I'm
ahead.
just curious, do you know if this gas station's gonna have a game room?
Not that I know of. Never in my life.
It will be a state-of-art facility. I mean, as far as the look is similar to Phelan Boulevard is
Gotcha.
going up right now, very modern.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak for or against this case? None is heard, so we'll close the public hearing. We have heard from the staff and also the applicant. They do understand the conditions that's imposed on them by the city, and I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve PZ 2021-367 with the 5 conditions.
Is there a second?
I second.
We have a second and a motion, so any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? The ayes have it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chris. And again, welcome to the new members. And Madam Mayor, you can send us home.
I'll be in as adjourned.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a great afternoon.
Well,